That's a taste of the voice from the underground. Hear more today on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and Apple Podcasts. That's a taste of the voice from the underground. Hear more today on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and Apple Podcasts. You okay, Josh?
Oh
Josh, you
yeah,
still
yeah. Sorry, that was weird. I was signed in as somebody else again.
okay? Because I see two of you now on the bottom of my screen. Actually, who's ever watching this can see two Josh. There, Josh is not actually cloned himself. If you just want to know out there, but
Or maybe I have. I
or
haven't
maybe
looked,
yes.
so anything's
He
possible.
oh, it just dropped off. He did watch Annihilation. You never know. It mutated. Here we go. On this week's show, we're talking how Annihilation got annihilated at the box office, women empowerment in superhero films, a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and is it too late for us to get into Dungeons and Dragons? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back for another great episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you checking in with us and listening to the broadcast. And it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's the man, the myth, the legend behind humanicamedia.com. You got to check out all their great stuff today on Humanica Media and all their great platforms on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and so much more. It's Josh Peterson. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, hey, hey! I am just still trying to process a certain movie I saw this weekend. I keep reading my review, and I'm reviewing my review, and I'm still reviewing the movie, and my head is about to explode.
And that is Annihilation, and we'll talk more about that here in a sec. Plus, also as well, we're going to be talking later on about a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And is it too late for us to get into Dungeons and Dragons? We've also got Rob McCallum standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire. He's going to be with us talking about some things he wants to chat about in pop culture. Plus, also as well, we've got Nutty Nukchus from the Nutty Bites podcast. She's going to be talking to us later in the episode in regards to women empowerment in superhero films, where there's a lot going on with the success of Wonder Woman, what's coming up in Marvel, and why it's a great step forward, but there's still a lot more work left to do. And also, yeah, Black Panther and all that. So, okay. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about Annihilation. It appeared this past weekend as far as in theaters here in North America. Around the globe, it's still yet to be dispersed because it's actually going to be showing up in most markets overseas on Netflix right here in a little bit about 2 weeks from now. But also, I want to ask you, Josh, you've actually seen the film, you've actually reviewed the film for us, and you can actually catch our review of Annihilation, Josh's review of Annihilation. Said it too many times. Annihilation on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Josh, what did you think of the movie? I know you said your head was about to explode, but really, when it comes down to it, you're not much different than a lot of other people who are saying, "What is this movie all about?"
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I still am having a hard time processing it. It was the most beautiful movie that I just did not get. I was a huge fan of Ex Machina. That was Alex Garland's last film, and I want to say I'm a fan of this movie, but I don't know why I'm a fan, and I don't know. I still don't really know what the movie was trying to convey. So like you know, I don't know what you know about the story, but they go into there's a thing called the Shimmer, and it's overtaking a big massive land, and this thing keeps expanding, and so that's why they're trying to send a team in, because every team they've sent in before that has not come back. And if they don't figure out what's going on with this thing soon, it's going to actually engulf most of the United States and, soon the world. But they make it seem like it's this big uh there are monsters inside the thing according to the trailers, and there are some. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's about to go see it, but it's hard to even talk about without spoiling it. But yeah, there were so
Well,
many.
let's go into spoilers because I'm going to tell everyone out there it didn't perform well at the box office. It garnered a little bit over 10 million here domestically this past weekend, which compared to even Game Night, which finished second at 19 million, and of course got trounced by Black Panther, well over 100 million, close to 110 million. It wasn't even close, so it probably will not be staying in theaters very long. So if you want to go ahead and spoilers, by all means, Josh.
So here's the thing. I didn't actually think that it would do that well in theaters. It would hit a certain niche crowd who's into like the whole art house flicks, but as far as reaching a broad audience, Ex Machina didn't really reach a broad audience, which is why it got nominated for an Academy Award. But um,
Well, and then I think that's why Paramount Studios it isn't being distributed worldwide by Paramount Studios, and that it's actually only being dealt with theatrically here in the United States and possibly a couple other markets like China. Most of the world will be catching it on Netflix here in about 17 days.
right, and so this is my warning to anyone who is going to see this movie. Don't If you're going in expecting a monster flick like Godzilla or Kong Skull Island or something, don't it's not that. And if you're going in to expect an action film, starring a crew of really awesome women, it's not that. The women are pretty awesome in the movie. I'll give them that, but like it's not an action movie. It's not a creature feature. It really is just an intellectual mind melting movie. And they're playing on the same theme that uh you know Villeneuve did with Arrival, sort of, but they do it a little bit better. um and they're talking about this idea that I think, from what I understand, the theme centers around creation, but they do it in a way where like the thing that is inside the shimmer is an alien, and he is rewriting the DNA of living creatures. So
So he's just redoing like the code of everything. Is that correct?
right, and but it's not just he's not keeping it specific to like animals and stuff. Like they if you see in the trailers, there's parts where there's like tree looking things that look like people. That's because those things were people. They Once you're inside the shimmer and you're breathing in like whatever this alien is pumping out into the atmosphere, you're starting to combine with nature. So there's like deers with flowers growing out of their antlers, and there's crocodiles that have the weird like inside of the flower, like inside in its throat, and there's a bear that's like half something weird, and as it eats people it consumes their essence. So like there's a part where they're all tied to these chairs because somebody goes crazy, spoiler alert. But every time it opens its mouth, you can hear the voice of one of the team members that they just lost, because it absorbed a piece of that thing's conscience. So like this alien is just messing with everything, and it wants to it they say something like it wants to annihilate life and just recreate stuff. But again, I don't know if that's what it wanted. I don't know if like Alex Garland knew that that's what he wanted to happen, or what was going on. It ends with this weird, it makes you think that the alien got out of the shimmer, but it also like tries to mold itself to look like Natalie Portman, but then that makes you think that she killed it, and then she gets out, and then her eyes are glowing like the creature inside, and it's just a really I don't know, like I don't even know how to describe this ending.
Bizarre, perhaps.
Yeah, it is really bizarre because the alien has no physical form. It's just like a shimmering mass like inside of this hole in a lighthouse where the meteor struck, and it's trying to become human. Like it shapes itself like Natalie Portman, then Oscar Isaac, and so on and so forth. But they make you think that it's dead, and then in the end, they like do these little things where the eyes glint, and you're like, oh wait, no, is that the creature? So It is truly bizarre, and I think they're trying so hard to be smart that they don't that he didn't Alex Garland didn't even understand. So I'm tempted to go out and pick up the other two books just to see like if I can get some context here. But
Because it is part of a trilogy as far as the books are concerned. If somebody wants to go into it, I heard, and from most of the reviews, including yours, that I'm seeing, not all of it's taken from it, and it because of that, maybe that's causing why a lot of people are just trying to are not really understanding or getting the entire picture when it comes to Annihilation.
right, because Alex Garland likes to mess with people. Like he likes to take the ending that you expect and then make it unexpected. And I think he was trying so hard to be clever and artsy that he didn't quite understand that this wasn't going to sit well with audiences. And then there are people out there who are like, it's not meant to be understood. But what is the point? You know, if I wanted to be frustrated, I could have just stayed home and like watched the news or something. So I don't really know what the point was.
Well, that's the thing, because obviously it takes a little bit of cash and dinero to make that kind of movie, and I'm just concerned that when you go out and spend that kind of money to make a movie that not a whole lot of people get, then you're only ending up doing it for yourself and not the actual audience that you're trying to entertain. Or are you trying to entertain them? If you're trying to inform them or anything, you're really just basically just leaving them confused and leaving them depressed as they leave the theater. And the recommendations, word of mouth, just seems to go and spiral down from there. Correct?
Right. Because this is the thing. Like, I don't know about you, but, you know, the casual film goer does not like to leave the movie theater frustrated. And the more people come out of this talking about like not understanding and having it like not be something that's easy to watch, I think less people are going to go see it. And this isn't one of those movies that's going to like, do slightly less than it did the weekend before. I think it's going to be one of those movies that does drastically less than what it did the weekend before.
And that's already a steep drop already, because it, like I said, it domestically here at the box office here in the U.S., it actually only garnered a little bit over $10 million, and compared to Black Panther, which now has garnered over $700 million worldwide, did again, like I said, about a big number, $110 million domestically, which is one of the biggest second weekends ever in U.S. domestic history. It's just going to get lost in the shuffle even quicker because of its weird and strange format and the way it leaves moviegoers as far as the way they perceive the film. They can take something like Game Night, which has got actually fairly good reviews from across the board, and actually you got a decent cinema score as far as that as well. And people are going to be able to go ahead and ease into that if they want a movie after Black Panther, until, let's say, they want, the movies come out like Death Wish, Red Sparrow, which are coming out very soon, or also as well Pacific Rim Uprising, or anything else that's coming out in March. They're going to want to go ahead and ease into something like Game Night as opposed to Annihilation if they're just want to check out a movie in the afternoon.
Right. And here's the sad part about Annihilation is that it only, it had a budget of $55 million. And that's, compared to some of the big players out there, that's not really that much money. But, making slightly north of $10 million on opening weekend does not spell good things for the future of this movie.
No, maybe that's why they, after seeing it, the people responsible, the production company, whatnot, actually signed that deal, maybe very smartly, with Netflix outside the U.S. so that they can get that, at least that safe money that they possibly could not get if they released it worldwide theatrically. Because as you said, they've already got that investment that they're losing on, because not only is it a 55 $60 million production cost, but you got to consider almost double that when you consider a marketing plan, things of that nature. So $100 million already may be in the red before we even release it to theaters. So maybe that's a good thing that Netflix picked up on it and picked up that similar to what they did with the Cloverfield movie that just came out as well. That movie wasn't going to perform well at all at box office, and the producers behind that, J.J. Abrams and whatnot, really were smart in going ahead and putting that straight to Netflix. Should this have come straight to Netflix across the board? I'm beginning to think that that might have been the case and would have been a better direction, because as you and I both are seeing, that it's something that not a whole lot of people are understanding entirely. People are leaving confused, frustrated, and that's not going to bode well for the future of Annihilation. What are your thoughts on Annihilation? Josh's review is up on our popculturecosmos.wordpress.com site. You heard his thoughts. Do you have any thoughts of your own? Are you actually going to still check out the movie in theaters, or are you going to wait until it comes to Netflix, whether you're out and about, whether you're outside of the U.S. markets or what have you, or are you going to wait here in the U.S. until it hits DVD, video rentals, and check it out then? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and GameSource, on Facebook and Twitter as well. Josh, I mentioned real quickly that Black Panther has garnered over $700 million worldwide, which means it's a great feat indeed that $1 billion is right around the corner, and it looks more and more like a sure thing every day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, from what I understand, people are still going to see it. It's still doing well. I know, like I was talking to someone who said they'd seen it 4 times already. So apparently, it's one of those ones that's good for repeat viewings. But also, it has the power. Definitely has the power of the critics on its side. Whereas, you have something like Avengers: Age of Ultron, which got bashed by critics, but it's still a fun movie to watch. In this case, you have Black Panther, which is it's a fun movie to watch, but it's also being loved by critics. So it has a lot of things going for it, and I don't expect to see it like fizzle out anytime soon. I think we're gonna see pretty strong, like it's gonna be comfortably in theaters. I think at least until we start approaching the coming weeks for Infinity War.
Let me ask you in this, and I saw this on Twitter, and this has brought up a very good question. I know it's February, but this time last year, there was actually a great film that came out that stayed in the consciousness of Academy voters and stayed in the public eye when it came to how well that movie was made. And that movie is Get Out. This movie right here is being praised across the board, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. You actually gave it on our site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. You gave it a 9 out of 10, 4.5 stars out of 5. So I ask you, could this be a movie this time next year be considered for an Academy Award?
See, that's a tough question. I don't think it should win an Academy Award.
But in the nomination, which, as you and I both know, is really, really difficult for a superhero movie to be even considered in that light.
Yeah, it is. And if any superhero movie did get considered, it would be this. But, like I said, I don't think that it should win an Academy Award. It was a fun superhero movie to watch. And yeah, it's got important social stuff in it. It's not, that's, we're not overlooking that fact. But, it's not, it doesn't do any, like Get Out was groundbreaking. And like the messages in that were done in such a clever, crafty, like psychological way that it deserved the nominations it got. Like this would be hinging only on the fact that it's a a nearly all black cast and a black superhero, and it doesn't really. I don't want to sound like bad, but I don't think it really has really earned it. Like if it does get nominated, I don't think it's earned it. I think that Get Out was a very clever movie, very well done, very artsy. This is just a superhero movie. The only thing that makes it stand out is the fact that it has an all African American cast.
Okay, fair enough. And then like I said, for me, I think it may sustain the momentum. I think people are going to keep it in the limelight, and I think it will be strongly considered if it is a maybe a down year as far as a lot of movies not coming out with any great expectations. I think last year is something like that. A lot of movies, Dunkirk, Get Out, movies that were made several months before the Christmas season that were released, got consideration and got nominated. Partly because of the fact that I didn't think there was a strong crop of movies for it to go against. Now, this case with, if there's going to be if there's a string of really, really successful and really high rated films, closer to the end of the year, maybe Black Panther may not be able to see that nomination, which a lot of people are actually starting to push for already. But if it is a weak year, you could be seeing a lot of people really getting behind Black Panther as a nominated film for Golden Globe or Oscar time. So that's just my opinion. I really think it's a great film. Is it a film of the year? We don't know yet. I mean, it's just February, so there's a lot of other films to go. So we'd have to wait and see. But there could be a big push behind it, maybe because, like you said, of the cast and the way it's set up or whatnot, as far as the cultural influences and things of that nature. But I think there will be a push at the end of the year for this film to try and make it and squeeze into one of those nominations. There's now 7 or 8 nominations that are allowed, so it could garner one, and that would be a big win for obviously the Black community, but also as well the social ramifications of a superhero film being nominated as well. What are your thoughts on Black Panther being possibly nominated down the road for an Academy Award? We'd love to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, it's going to be a great show we have for you today. Josh and I will be back talking some Sonic the Hedgehog, and also as well, is it too late for us to get into Dungeons and Dragons? We'll answer that question a little bit later on. And also we will have Rob McCallum coming by very soon in the Cosmic Crossfire, and Nutty Nuchus from the Nutty Bites podcast. She's going to be stopping by talking women empowerment in superhero films as well. It's going to be a great episode we have for you today. But first, it all starts off with our good friend Chad and Hyperschmidt. He's going to be going with you to E3, you lucky guy. And I'm talking to Josh. Josh, he's going to be heading to E3 with you, you lucky guy. This is Chad, part of Hyperschmidt, and this is Find You, and this is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with Pop Culture Cosmos. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. My name is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. Josh, you've got a great thing going on with Humanity Media. So before I give everyone a shout out on what's going on with us here at Pop Culture Cosmos, please let everyone know you've got a lot of great things going on with your great stop known as Humanity Media.
Right. Yeah, so we just put out a brand new episode of Topicocalypse, less than an hour ago. So you can check that out now, and that's about all of the great TV shows you might not be watching, which was prompted by somebody saying, man, we're not going to see another new episode of Game of Thrones for a very long time. So there are other options out there.
I hope one of them to you guys was The Alienist.
I think, I don't know. The Alienist. Is this a show I need to add to the list?
I think it is a show you need to add to the list. It stars Daniel Bruhl, Luke Scott, and also Dakota Fanning. It's a great, I think it's a very, very strong show to watch. It's very interesting concept, and it's something it's dealing with a time realm that not a lot of individual shows, TVs, or movies are dealing with at this point in time. So I think it covers a lot of ground. I've tried as far as Altered Carbon, didn't really get into that one very well. Electric Dreams, you know me, I'm a Philip K. Dick fan, but unfortunately it's not being represented very well either. I will say, though, that one of the other shows that I would probably lean into as well, would be, yeah. Well, I'd just say I think the Aliens right now would be the one that I'd probably go for. So,
All right, I'm gonna add that to the list then, because the top of the list for ours was Westworld.
oh, of course, Westworld. Yeah, I saw season 1. Mostly strong points with it. Some episodes, a couple of the episodes were like miss, but it did end up very well with a really good wanting to get you hooked in for next season type ending. So I will say that.
I gotta watch it. I have not seen it yet. We also have a brand new episode of the Super BS Games Cast, which was released on Thursday, I want to say, and that has sees the return of our segment, the Stock Corner, and a little bit of our thoughts on Kingdom Come Deliverance, as well as EA potentially losing its contract with Star Wars.
I've known that. I've seen the rumors now for about 7 to 10 days. I did want to comment on that publicly with you as far as one of our segments until it was something a little bit more solidified. But it is a hot rumor out there, and it could be very definitely warranted. And if I was Activision or Ubisoft or Bethesda, I would really want to jump on that one.
Ooh, but does Bethesda have enough time to make a Star Wars game?
Well, that's true. Just think of an open world Star Wars game, but it would take them forever to do it, but definitely would get the results that they would be looking for.
Ooh, that actually sounds very nice.
I wouldn't do 2K because that 2K would absolutely take forever.
Oh yeah, I mean, at least not until they put out Borderlands 3, which could be 2029 for all we know.
Yes. So anything else going on?
Yeah, we have a new episode of What About This dropping next week, but that's it for now.
All right, that's a lot of things right there for you. Want to check that out today, humanicamedia.com. For us as well on the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse, our Friday show, you got to check us out streaming all over the world 7 days a week on internet radio stations. On Sundays, we're on in the UK, our latest radio station, Airwave Radio. Just want to thank them so much in the UK. We truly appreciate you joining up with us on the Pop Culture Cosmos and PCC Multiverse. Also, as well, the Good Talk radio station. Want to thank them so much for Sunday nights playing us as well. On Mondays, it's our original home, the Podcast Radio Network. We truly appreciate, as always, being a part of there. It started it all, and we cannot thank them enough. Plus, also, you've got Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting and also Great Cloud Radio as well on Tuesdays. Oh, I'm sorry. And, of course, how can I forget Croc Radio in Canada? Buddy Gold just does a great job with Croc Radio as well. I want to thank them so much. That's our Monday night schedule. On Tuesday nights, it's Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting. On Wednesday, you want to check us out on Great Cloud Radio. Thursdays, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting. Friday, it's the episode that drops from the PCC Multiverse, and that's going to be on Croc Radio and the Podcast Radio Network. And Great Cloud Radio has an airing of Pop Culture Cosmos as well. And Saturday, Great Cloud Radio again plays us as well. So 7 days a week. We truly appreciate it. And also, you can download our shows at any point in time if you subscribe to our channels on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, the Gunna Geek Network, the Tangibound Network, the ESO Network, and over a dozen more podcast networks. So, Josh, I know you read also as well, we were talking about some things and rumors flying as far as in the video game world. Did you get a chance to check out the rumor that there is possibly in production a Sonic the Hedgehog movie?
I did, and I wanted to ask you this. Do you think that this is just a response to the Super Mario film?
I think it is. I think it's, for whatever reason, it's that old Sonic, it's that old Sega Nintendo rivalry coming back to fruition. I still want to read the book of the Sega Nintendo rivalry from the 90s, and I believe hopefully one day, I think Seth Rogen was still working on a film adaptation for that book, if I remember correctly. But yes, I think it is a response to it. You and I both know at this point in time, the Sonic the Hedgehog popularity is not at once, it's not nearly at the level it once was. And I think if it did come to fruition, it would suffer badly unless it was put on a smaller format like a streaming service, if it went straight to there instead of straight to theaters.
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog is like the NSYNC of video games. Like we all grew up loving them, but just the idea of having them come back now is just not really that appealing. And every time they try to like remaster Sonic or bring him out with something new, it just ends up not not like being the best. So though, you know, the last Sonic game, what Sonic All Stars, was that the one?
No, I think there was Sonic Rush or I believe as well. I think there was one that actually did. The last one I think did fairly well, and we're not talking about to mobiles. We're actually talking about the last console release.
The one with the side scroller, the one that had like all the old Sonics on there, like that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. But like they need to do something like what they did with Mario if they're going to be reinventing Sonic. They need to like bring this whole world to life. Like we know Sonic can run and make him run, but bring us some kind of open world concept like Super Mario Odyssey had. And I think that is what could bring it back because as a kid, like I love Sonic. I love that world he was in. I remember they had like two different versions of the Sonic cartoon on. And I always loved like one was like super dark, and that was always the one that I loved to watch as a kid. So I just don't see this like being a great movie, especially because it's going to be made to cater to kids, and that kind of worries me. And it's like, yeah, maybe there's a time when we will want a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but don't put it out just because there's a Super Mario movie on the horizon.
But I will play devil's advocate. I will play devil's advocate in that we were saying the same things about an Angry Birds movie, and now look at that. For Sony, it actually scored well enough that they're considering or even producing another sequel, a sequel for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I mean, did anybody say like, "Hey, I want more of this"?
Not really, and I don't think a lot of people were saying they wanted a Sonic the Hedgehog movie either. But then again, it's very possible we could be getting one.
Well, the funny thing about that statement too is that I don't remember anybody saying they wanted a Super Mario movie. We all remember what happened last time they tried that.
Yes, yes, indeed we do. It's one of the worst movies of the 1990s, but at this point in time, if done in an animated form and going off the success of Nintendo Switch with a new base of fans, a younger base of fans that don't have any memory like us of the Super Mario Brothers from the past, could do very well. I know it would do very. I would know it would do very well. What in the Asian markets, possibly even European markets and North American markets. I think because of the success of the Switch, I think it could do very well, as opposed to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, where it's pretty much anyone's guess as far as how well that would do.
Do you think that if they made a video game based on the Super Mario film that's coming out, do you think that it'll be bad?
There's a high likelihood that it could be bad, but like I said, they don't play to our taste. They play to someone else's. That's always the thing when you're dealing with Nintendo. They literally will pull something out of left field, and with a lot of Nintendo fans, it's going to stick regardless.
You know what I could see happening is Super Mario in the movie, he runs and then he starts to realize like, "Hey, I'm too out of shape to be doing all this jumping, so I'm going to call Sonic and have him finish running for me." Then we have a team up movie and then everybody's happy.
This is true. This is true, unless you're a fan of Xbox and PlayStation. Otherwise, you're pretty much out in the cold. What are your thoughts on a Sonic the Hedgehog movie? Are you really interested in it? Do you really even care? Are you really looking forward to the Super Mario movie instead as an alternative and a great idea for a movie this time around? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. When we come back, we've got a lot of great things to talk about. with Nutty Nuchis. She is from the Nutty Bites podcast. She does a great job with that show, and you got to check it out today. But first, you got to listen to her talk about women empowerment in superhero films. She's going to stop by for this episode and also on her Friday one as well. So you got to listen to her right after the break and hear what she has to say in regards to women empowerment in superhero films. So glad I got a chance to talk to her, and you'll hear that right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glass from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We want to thank you so much for listening, along with my good friend, Josh Peterson of Humanity Media. Want to thank so much Nutty Nuchis from the Nutty Bites podcast. You want to check out, again, her great show today. Also as well, we've got our good friend Rob McCallum and robmccallumfilms.com. Thank you so much thank him as always for being part of the Cosmic Crossfire. Josh, before we head on out, I want to ask you a question. Is it too late, and are we too old to be playing Dungeons and Dragons?
No. I mean, yeah, like when you look at it, like a lot of people don't really understand it. Like they don't understand how fun it is. I think that like Stranger Things kind of brought a weird like resurgence in the whole tabletop role playing type scenarios, but why because this is a weird question, because like we on the what about this I recorded we were talking about Disneyland, and why there's just some people who can't just open their imaginations to the possibilities that Disneyland has to offer. Like for me, when I first sat down to play Dungeons and Dragons, well, now I'm on to Numenera, but like when I first sat down to play Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, this is really stupid. But then like I started to get, enveloped in the story that these people are creating, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and I look like an idiot doing this, but like this is a lot of fun. I'm okay with this. And it just, the only thing standing in the way of somebody having a good time playing something like Dungeons and Dragons is the person playing, and the person refusing to play because they think it's stupid,
or the dungeon master if they're not really very good,
or the dungeon master if they're not very good, or if they're just far too good, in which case they we were playing Numenera, and we kept running into these scenarios where there were just like things like he had in mind a certain way that he wanted us to react, and we could not hold on,
say that again, because it lagged.
Okay, hold on one second. My dog's drinking his water again.
I don't hear it as much, just to let you know, FYI.
No, do you hear this? Oh, perfect. All right, well, let's make.
But then it may come up in editing, so I don't know. So.
Okay, hold on. He's almost done. He's running out. Okay. So yeah, no, it's the only person standing in the way of enjoying Dungeons and Dragons is you. Like it's something you got to get used to. You got to like it's like being in one of those places. It's like being in church, and you see people like men hugging each other, and you're like, I can't do that. And then, but the only person really stopping you from like hugging another man is you. If that makes sense.
That makes sense indeed. I can tell you way back when, before you were born, Shani, that I used to play Dungeons and Dragons a little bit, and I remember one of the first times I played, we were one of those crew that just drove the dungeon master just absolutely insane, because me and another player, we decided to go ahead and just have a lot of fun with it, and just instead of just trying to maybe where should I go next, or did I get into a trap or anything like that, or what kind of treasure did I get, we were like, okay, I want my 10,000 followers to roll the dice I want my 10,000 followers to go ahead and beat up on his 10,000 followers. And then he would go, I want my 10,000 followers to push him off the castle and into the moat full of crocodiles. And we would just be going that back and forth for like 10, 15 minutes. And I will tell you something, in my entire life, have I never laughed any harder. I laughed so hysterically that I actually was just had hiccups for the rest of the day, and I was hoarse from laughing so much because it was just so much fun playing, and just messing around and just pretty much coming up with every wild scenario possible while you were playing the game. Now that's obviously the extreme if you're not playing seriously, but that's if you're playing casually with a group of friends, and everybody end up after we stopped frustrating the dungeon master, actually everyone ended up having a great time. I will say this, if people get a chance, they should go out of the way to find podcasts that do have those adventure Dungeons and Dragons playthroughs, or even the Twitch playthroughs that you can actually catch as well, just to see what it's like, to see if it's something that you can get back into. But to answer our original question, I think Josh said it best. No, it's never too late to get into Dungeons and Dragons. If you're interested and involved, man or woman, it doesn't really matter. Just go for it, have some fun, and enjoy it, and be part of the action once again. Especially even if you're an older guy that like remembers the way Dungeons and Dragons first started off with when it originally came out. It's still a lot of fun to play. It's still a lot to get into, and it's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, shout out to Monte Cook Games. Like he's gone from Dungeons and Dragons and has actually made quite a few like pretty fun stuff. Like we're on to Numenera, and you're talking about like having a good time and laughing. We played this on the Super BS Games cast. Like we've recorded one time of us playing this game, but like Brian has a character who his only concern in life is like one of his big character traits is he just wants to impress women. So like we'll have these like situations where you have to go in and like save a bunch of villagers, and he goes, I jump over the old villagers and I'm just doing sweet tricks, and all the women are like, yeah.
That's too funny. That's too funny. Like I say, that's the best part of playing Dungeons and Dragons or Luminera or any games like that, is where you can just come out with something out of left field and just throw it out there, and it's either going to frustrate everyone or just make them all laugh, because and more than likely it'll make them do that, because again, when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, it's a lot of fun. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, I mean, definitely pick it up and not. I mean, don't force yourself to do it. It does require planning, but like once all the pieces are in place, like it's fun. I mean, I can't describe it as any other way.
And I know people actually can play it now with the wonderful technology that we have over the internet, over Skype, over Google Hangouts, what have you, and really have a good time, even if you're not within the same room. So definitely something that's out there. And if you're interested, yes, it's never too late to get into Dungeons and Dragons. What are your thoughts on Dungeons and Dragons? Are you still interested in playing it? Are you playing it now? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanican Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. So, Josh, I know on Friday's show, the PCC Multiverse, we're going to be talking about, well, the Oscars. That's going to be coming up this time next weekend. So I know you and I are going to have almost like the old Siskel and Ebert days, where if we pick the Oscars, we would give our choices, and then also what most likely will be the odds-on favorites as well. So definitely looking forward to doing that on Friday with you, my friend. But I know you've got a show coming up, Attack of the Humanikins, on Tuesday nights on the Podcast Radio Network. But what else you got planned for this week going on in the life of Josh Peterson?
Um, like podcasts? What are we talking about
Are
here?
you going to be streaming anything, podcasting anything? What's going on with your world?
Well, we're gonna have a new episode of the Super BS Gamescast dropping this week, and I do plan on streaming some Kingdom Come Deliverance at some point during the week. So if you're subscribed to the Humanican Media YouTube channel, you should get a little pop up saying that that's going down. Right now, my I have a review of Faye up on the Pop Culture Cosmos page. You can check that out also. But I'm hoping to do some more game streaming. I just gotta find some time to make it all happen.
I hear you on that one. And once again, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.